Good morning. My name is Councillor Jennifer McKelvey. I am Chair of Scarborough Community Council and will be chairing today's meeting. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I will call meeting 32 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held with members of council and city staff participating by both video conference and in person at the Scarborough Civic Centre in Council Chamber. The Scarborough Civic Centre is once again open to the public, and anyone is welcome to attend the meeting in Council Chamber today. The public may continue to participate electronically by video conference. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. The clerk staff have connected remote public speakers to the meeting by video conference, and there are public speakers in the room with us today. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Scarborough Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. I ask everyone for their patience in any delays with technical issues. Members, the clerk has provided all agenda meeting materials on CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available in the chamber and remotely if you need help with your devices. As part of each agenda item, I will ask members to raise their hand or unmute their mic if they wish to question staff or speak. I will then create a speakers list and will call on members when it is their turn to speak. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure they turn on their video and raise their hand to indicate their vote. Members, this is a paperless meeting, and I want to remind you that you must still submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at scc@toronto.ca to help with motions. Although we are in different locations and some members are participating remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you have, please raise your hand, unmute your mic, and indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on April 25th, 2022? Councillor Mantis. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. Our first item of business today apologies, the clerk wasn't able to see the screen, so they couldn't see you putting your hands up. So I'll say that again. Councillor Mantis put his hand up. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. Our first item of business today will be SC 3220, Scarborough Walk of Fame, as requested by Scarborough Community Council at our meeting on April 25th. Betty Carr and Mark Middleton are present in the chamber today and will present on this item. We will now run through the agenda. Our first item is SC 32.1, Request for Directions Report, 40 and 42 Tuxedo Court Zoning Amendment Application. Councillor Ainsley.
I will move the recommendations, Madam Chair.
Councillor Ainsley is moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.2, Preliminary Report 150 Clonmore Drive Zoning Amendment Application. Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a small amendment to increase the notification area, which I can move, and then I'll move the preliminary report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crawford. We can vote first on the amendment. All those in favor? All those opposed? On the item as amended, all those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.3, Preliminary Report 36 to 40 Ellesmere Road Zoning Amendment Application. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, good morning, and thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd also like to amend recommendation 2 and replace the 120 meters with 400 meters in terms of the notification area.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? All those in favor of the item as amended? All opposed? That item carries. SC 32.5, Preliminary Report 4630 Kingston Road Zoning Amendment Application. I'm prepared to move staff recommendations and we'll work with clerk on the notice area. All those, and would anybody like to hold this item? Great. All those in favor?
Madam Chair, you missed an item.
Okay, apologies. We'll vote on 5. I'll go back to 4. All those in favor of 32.5? All those opposed? That item carries. Thank you, Councillor Thompson, for catching that. 32.4 preliminary report, 1296 Kennedy Road zoning amendment application. Councillor Thompson. We will hold as there were speakers on this item. There are now no speakers on this item? No, 4 has a speaker. Okay. So we will hold 4 as there is a speaker on this item. That brings us back to SC 32.6 preliminary report, 10065 and 10071 Sheppard Avenue East official plan amendment, zoning amendment, and draft plan of subdivision applications. I will move staff recommendations to work with clerk on increasing work with the city on increasing the notice area. Would anybody like to hold this item? All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.7, naming of a proposed private lane for development at 165 Tapscott Road. Councillor Lai.
I move staff recommendation, please, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lai is moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.8, construction staging area, 2380 to 2382 Kingston Road. Councillor Crawford.
Can move staff recommendations.
Okay, Councillor Crawford is moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.9, traffic calming on Janet Boulevard. Councillor Thompson.
I'll move the recommendations.
Councillor Thompson moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.10, traffic control, Treewood Road and Brockley Road. Councillor Thompson.
I'll move the recommendations.
Councillor Thompson moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.11, Vision Zero Road Safety Plan, speed limit reductions to 30 kilometers per hour on local roads and public lanes, Scarborough area. This is Councillor Crawford and Councillor Ainsley's ward.
I can move, or Councillor Ainsley can move.
We can jointly move it.
We could. Half and half.
Okay,
Teamwork.
Apparently that's not a real thing. So Councillor Crawford spoke up first. So Councillor Crawford's moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 3212, 5 Corporate Drive Public Art Plan. Councillor Ainsley.
I will move the staff recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ainsley's moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. SC 32.13, application for a fence exemption, 58 Saugeen Crescent. This item is timed, so we must hold it. Do we need to hold it? We have to hold this one for 4 minutes. SC 3214, application for a fence exemption, 16 Courton Drive. Likewise, we need to hold. SC 3215, application for a fence exemption, 48 Khartoum Avenue. We need to hold. SC 3216, application for a fence exemption, 36 Windover Drive. We need to hold, and there are 4 speakers on this item. SC 3217, application for a fence exemption, 314 Jaybell Grove. We need to hold. SC 3218, application to remove a private tree, 32 Carondale Crescent. Councillor Mantis?
Madam Chair, is the applicant on the line?
Oh, actually, yes, sorry. The applicant, there is a speaker, and we need to hold until 9:45, so it will hold.
Okay.
SC 3219, application to remove a private tree, 83 Treetops Court. We will hold for 9:45. SC 3220, Scarborough Walk of Fame. I will hold, and that will be our first item of business. So with that, we will go back to, we will start the agenda. So our first item, as was directed at the last Scarborough Community Council meeting, will be 3220 Scarborough Walk of Fame. Welcome to Mark Middleton, the chair of the Scarborough Walk of Fame, who will be giving a presentation.
Good morning. I'm Betty Carr, actually, former publisher of the Scarborough Mirror. As one of the founders of the Scarborough Walk of Fame, I've come with Mark to give you an update on the Walk of Fame. So thank you for your time today. Madam Chair, councillors, a quick recap of the Scarborough Walk of Fame. The Scarborough Walk of Fame was born out of the Stand Up Scarborough campaign. It was decided by the Stand Up Scarborough Committee that it would be beneficial to the community to create a permanent visual demonstration of Scarborough's bright lights, a Walk of Fame. The Scarborough Town Centre was approached and management came on board, agreeing to allow the installation of permanent stars in the front of the floor of the centre. With thousands of people passing through the space on a daily basis, it provided great visibility. The Scarborough Walk of Fame was born and the first inductions took place in 2006. To date, the Scarborough Walk of Fame has inducted 55 individuals representing the achievements of Scarborough residents, past and present, in the fields of arts and culture, community, education, environment, entertainment, health and science, and sports. In 2018, for the first time, Scarborough Walk of Fame inducted a star in the business category. In addition, 4 young people who were making an impact in the community were presented with the Scarborough Walk of Fame Rising Star Award. All of this work has been carried out by a volunteer board with the ongoing support of the Scarborough Mirror, the Scarborough Town Centre, Centennial College, and of course, City of Toronto through the Scarborough Community Council. Thank you. I would be remiss if I did not mention Deb McGrath and Colin Mockery, who have been our MCs for all these years pro bono. Recently, after a strategic planning session, the Scarborough Walk of Fame agreed on the necessity to ensure that the Scarborough Walk of Fame continued to celebrate community, recognise achievement, and inspire tomorrow's leaders. When looking at these goals, one can see that they are very much aligned with what the Scarborough Community Renewal Organisation, SCRO, aspires to: connecting, promoting, and renewing Scarborough. For that reason, on March 1st, 2021, the Scarborough Walk of Fame Association was moved under SCRO umbrella, and all of the Scarborough Walk of Fame assets were moved to SCRO, who will continue to manage and present Scarborough Walk of Fame installations, events, and initiatives. In 2022, the Scarborough Walk of Fame Celebration Day event will be held at the Scarborough Town Centre, Centre Court, on September the 15th. Due to COVID, the last event was held in 2018. Therefore, this year's event will have 12 new inductions. 2022 will be the first year the event will be streamed to all residents in Scarborough and beyond. On Celebration Day, not only will there be 2 induction ceremonies, but there will be programming showcasing Scarborough talent and pride from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. I want to thank you for your support over the years. Any support that you can offer for the future would be greatly appreciated, and you have made a difference. I'll be happy to answer any questions along with my colleague, Mark Middleton. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there questions for the deputant? Okay. Seeing none, I just wanted to ask, so when will this year's inductees be released, and will there be any sort of ceremony around that?
They'll be released in about 2 weeks. June 14th, and we have some very exciting, as always, names, and we just need to follow a few more things yet. There will be ceremonies on that day with the inductions, and Deb and Colin will be there to do that, along with a lot of other celebrations for Scarborough.
And what type of supports might you need from the city in this initiative?
Well, I mean, obviously, financial is always wonderful, but also promotion, in kind, resources, just in principle supporting us as well. Any and all of those would be wonderful. You have done so much in the past.
And so this year's nominees have been selected. So for next year, will there be an open call that we could publish? Like, does the public have input into that? What is the sort of community engagement associated with it?
Yeah, there is a public. Maybe Mark, could you just?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
We were thrilled this year. We did a huge marketing campaign because of social media. We had 151 nominations, which if you've ever worked on anything where you need nominations, you know how hard it is. So we had 151 nominations, and the nominating committee had to work really hard to get that down to 12. So we were very excited with those numbers.
And my final question, sorry, I realized I didn't start my clock, so hopefully I'm under 5 minutes. Will you be able to share with all the councillors promotional materials that we can share with residents to celebrate the inductees this year?
We'd be happy to.
Great.
As soon as you will have it, okay?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Any other questions? I'll do a last call. Okay, thank you for joining us and providing an update on the Scarborough Walk of Fame, and we certainly look forward to finding ways to continue collaboration with your organization. Oh, Polly,
Madam
is
Chair.
clapping. Yes.
I'd like to speak.
Oh, yeah, I asked for questions. I didn't ask for speakers. Good point. Okay, look at you, Councillor Thompson. You're catching everything today. Councillor Thompson to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I want to just simply start off by saluting and thanking both Betty Carr and Mark Middleton. Both are unsung heroes in our community. They have been there when we were challenged with respect to just the reality as to who we were and who we are as a community. Betty was the publisher of the Scarborough Mirror, and both Betty and Marg were leaders in the Mirror. And I recall on occasions where the bad press came towards Scarborough, and both Betty and Marg were defenders, responding to the negative views and impression that people would essentially communicate to our community. And I just want to say that both these two amazing ladies have been strong and have been collaborators in terms of wanting to change the impression and the image that people have about our community. In fact, I remember probably about 15 years ago having a conversation with Betty and a subsequent conversation with Marg about, you know, what do we do? Do we fight the impression that people have? Or do we just go out and do things and make a difference? And that was part of the origination of the Taste of Lawrence Street Festival, which I started 18 years ago, because it was determined that, you know, in as much as we would talk about Scarborough and the impression that we wanted to give about our community, people weren't picking it up and weren't utilizing the expressions that we were trying to convey, which was positive impression, because we are a mighty proud community. We are a place where there are a lot of talented people here. We are a place where people get up, go to work every single day, come home, and are working to support their families and working to support communities and so on. And so we worked hard to respond. And of course, as you've heard about the birth of, the Scarborough Walk of Fame, and I recall we gave $100,000 a number of years back to help and support Betty and Marg and the team putting on the Scarborough Walk of Fame. And I think it's really important for us to recognize the work and the effort that has gone in to create this awareness. And also those recipients of the Walk of Fame have been very proud of being selected, and the process is open, it's transparent. And so I think that we need to ensure that we continue to support and endorse the Walk of Fame. And Betty has just indicated now that all of the assets going to be turned over to SCRO, which is another organization that, Madam Chair, you're quite familiar with, and we all are, who are working really hard to communicate, to express, and to advocate, and to promote Scarborough in the positive light that it continues to shine and so on, because so many of the people who communicate and write about Scarborough have had no real contact with Scarborough, and it's perhaps fitting that we should be telling our own stories as opposed to being branded by those who don't know our community and are trying to tell the story for us. So I simply wanted to take this opportunity and to say what a privilege it has been to work with both Betty and Marg, and just for their steadfast willingness and sticking to it to ensure that Scarborough continues to be promoted. And of course, the Walk of Fame, which is a signature event here in Scarborough, continues to get the support that it needs. And I think all of us as members of Community Council will have to double our efforts in order to ensure that this amazing event continues because it has a tremendous amount of positivity and positive benefits to our community and, of course, to the recipients in terms of highlighting those who have achieved so much in their careers, and those careers have actually, benefited Scarborough and young people in Scarborough, creating that boost and that effort to ensure that we don't sit back and rest on our laurels. In essence, we actually work hard to promote and to celebrate who we are. We are proud people. We are a community of doers. We are a community of people who have achieved great things. I mean, many of the music accolades from the weekend and many others, the Bare Naked Lady and so on, from the Scarborough roots. So I think we have so much to be proud of, and we have to thank Betty and Marg for their continued support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would anybody else like to speak to this item? Councillor Ainsley?
Thank you. I just simply want to thank Marg and Betty for all of their leadership and dedication. You know, it takes a tremendous amount of work to do something like the Scarborough Walk of Fame. It doesn't always get recognized, and it really supports the residents and the people of Scarborough and everything that we've done. And, you know, can't thank them enough for all of their leadership on this and many other community events that they've both been involved with. So I'd just like to thank them both wholeheartedly and look forward to continuing the Scarborough Walk of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. Any additional speakers on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will echo thanks. I think we all look forward to receiving the promotional materials, sharing those with community, and finding ways that we can collaborate together. So thank you for coming out today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, councillors.
Okay, so we now return to the timed items. The first timed item was 3213, application for a fence exemption, 58 Saugeen Crescent. Councillor Crawford, I believe it's in your ward.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a few questions of staff, if that's okay. I'm assuming there's no deputant on this item?
There's no deputant, so you can go to questions of staff.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple questions of more of clarification to, I believe, MLS. And it's just, I've looked at the pictures. I haven't been out to the actual site to see this, but can you give the context of where this pool is situated in the backyard? It looks to be a very small pool. The fence is very tight, and I have a few questions about why the fence is so close to the pool enclosure. But can you just give a bit of a context of where the pool is in the backyard?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of council. My name is James Slocum, and I'm filling in for Elena San Giuliano today. Elena's on vacation till her retirement. This report was prepared by Elena. I did have the occasion to review the report and speak with the investigating officer, and the pool itself is a custom pool built in the rear yard. And it's a unique situation whereby the enclosure complies with everything in Municipal Code 447, up to and including the self-closing, self-latching gates. But as you can see from attachment number 2, the pool fence itself is situated on the concrete foundation wall of this pool. This pool is approximately 3-4 feet tall. So just the nuance of no pathway around the pool, and that the pool itself is enclosed by the pool enclosure.
So you mentioned the pathway around the pool. I believe the Toronto Municipal Code states you need to have 1.2 meter buffer, I guess, around the pool. So that, I guess we have 10 inches, and I believe 6 inches on this particular one. So can you just describe what's the importance of having that 1.2 buffer around there, and specifically on safety?
Right. So traditionally, that bylaw speaks to your traditional in-ground pool where a safe passage would be afforded with the 1.2 meters around the perimeter of the water's edge to the pool enclosure, just to afford safe passage for your foot traffic and for access into the. And
okay, so from
application, sorry, Councillor.
No, that's okay. So from your perspective, safety is can be or is maybe compromised or is compromised with the location of the fence around the pool at this point.
Well, anytime there's a body of water, it's important. The bylaw speaks. The bylaw is enacted for public safety. The pool itself, the pool itself would be enclosed and separated from the dwelling, which would comply with the bylaw. The only thing that's an issue is that the fence, the enclosure itself, is too close to the water's edge.
So again, I haven't had the site visit. This fence looks like it has already been installed or finished. I don't know if the pool's finished, but it looks like the fence was already installed. Would it be too much of a challenge to redo the fence and put in a small deck around the enclosure to ensure that it's 1.2 meters?
My understanding, Counselor, from speaking with the investigating officers, just again, the real estate in the backyard would not afford the opportunity to fence this pool. It's a custom pool built, and the enclosure they were seeking relief. It is, like you say, already installed. It's existing.
Okay, those are all my questions, Madam Speaker.
Thank you,
Sure.
Councillor Crawford. Speakers on this item?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I'd like to move recommendation 1, which is to refuse to grant the application for the exemption permit. Again, I haven't had the opportunity. I was hoping that the applicant or homeowner would be able to talk about why they had installed the pool in such a way, that we had to have MLS come out and look at that. I'm really focusing on the issue of safety, anything to do with the pool in the backyard, and we've had a number of them over the years. First and foremost is safety, and recognizing that the enclosure was, it meets all the requirements for enclosing the pool on the safety, but it's just far too close. You have 10 inches and 10 inches and 6 inches away from the pool. And it's unfortunate actually that the pool enclosure and the pool were already built. I don't know who the contractor was or any kind of consultant who worked on that. Should have known that you need to have that 1.2 meters around there. So it's unfortunate that we haven't had a chance to speak with the owner. I don't think it would necessarily have changed my mind because I'm really looking at this on a safety aspect for it. And again, it could be for the people who live in this house, but it's sometime in the future if they sell this house, it's going to be there for a long time. In fact, probably forever. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to number 1, refuse to grant the application for exemption on this permit.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Crawford's moving recommendation 1. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. That brings us to our next item, 3214, application for fence exemption 16 Courton Drive. There are 5 deputants on this. The first one is Manuel Moledo. Do we have Manuel here or on the line? Okay. The second speaker is Faye Esperanza Herbert. Do we have Faye on the line? Or in person? Okay, great. If you can come up to the podium to speak, you have 5 minutes. Just to prepare those that are following, after this we'll hear for Thomas Herbert, Arn Coachlin, and then Stefan Coachlin. Thank you. You have five minutes.
Oh, sorry. Good morning. My name is Faye Herbert. Our neighbor Manuel doesn't want us to put the. There is a vacant there in our property, and when we move to that house, we want to put a dirt there to plant tomatoes, and he's the third owner there now, and the others did not much of complain about it, but now he doesn't like the dirt in there. Okay.
Sorry, I'll just try and bring this a little closer. There used to be just a natural hill to the back of the yard. My father is the neighbor. We're the neighbors. My dad lives next door, so that's why we're here, just helping with coming up with some solutions, and to sort of get that land leveled with the rest of the property. They put some paving stones on edge and leveled off the ground, and it's been like that for 18 years. And the neighbor in behind is, again, I'm not too familiar with what's happening with the neighbor. I'm just explaining what's happened 18 years ago at this property. They just leveled off the ground. It hasn't moved. It hasn't changed in that time. And it is the neighbor now, I'm assuming, is complaining about the way it, I think, looks, because it's not falling in. And so I'm not too familiar, sorry, with that, but that was the issue, is that they 18 years ago, they put some paving stones, they leveled off their land, they now use it for a garden, and we're here because I think the neighbor would like them to just take it down, and I think the solution on the sheet might have said just remove them, and if that happens, then all that soil is going to go into then his yard and stuff. So is there anything?
Yeah, yes and no.
Yep.
He doesn't like us to use that things because he said that it's touching his fence.
Yeah, my understanding is that the fence was put up after the wall. I don't think that there's an issue with property line at all. But the fence that he has now put up now is in contact in one little spot. It's not in contact, but the fence was put up after the wall was put up. So, is there anything else?
Any additional comments? Okay, thank you. Hold on, because we go to questions in case the councillors have questions. Are there any questions of the deputants?
Yes, Madam Chair. The local councillors, myself, I'd like to ask questions.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're at number 18, and your neighbor is 16. Is it the neighbor's fence or is it your fence? It's not clear to me.
No.
Sorry, my father and we live on Pharmacy, so we're at 106.
Oh, you live on Pharmacy.
Yeah, and then so the yards in back are Courton. So that I don't know the address. I guess then 16. So 16 Courton is on the back side of 1075 Pharmacy. So it's the back property line that this is an issue. And the property does slope down. All the property from Pharmacy, every property slopes down into that onto the Courton properties and then out. So.
All right. So okay, I'm trying to understand this. This is your mom and dad?
This is my dad. He's the neighbor at 1073. My father is working
at
1073 Pharmacy. So we're the neighbors.
10.
And
okay.
We're here to help come up with a solution for the problem. My father's worked for draftsman and engineering firms. That's done many jobs in the city of Toronto. So he's got some. He feels like everything is it's not going anywhere. It's not a structural issue.
So sorry. Your dad and your dad's neighbor.
Yes.
Supports the fence the way it is.
Yeah, they just want to leave it the way it is. It's been like that for 20 years, 18 years.
I'm just having some difficulties hearing. I'm not sure if it's just a
Sorry.
system.
I'll get back down. They're just wanted to leave it. It's been like that for 20 or 18 years. There's been no.
The fence has been like that for 18 years.
No, the wall, this little retaining wall has been like that for 18 years, and then the neighbor in behind has built a fence on his side of. A year ago, he built a fence, and the fence is built. It's done. He's already built the fence. It's already there. So.
I understand. So okay, and okay. So is it your understanding that the reason why the neighbor has built the wall is it simply for a aesthetics? Is it a view issue? Because it obviously isn't retaining anything, is it?
It is retaining. Soil from like the yard. Absolutely. It's about a 2 foot height. But I could not speak for, I'm sorry, I'm just here trying to explain the situation. I can't speak for what the neighbor has been, I don't know what the nature of the actual complaint. Maybe Faye can explain that.
That dirt that we put it in there is just to plant some tomatoes. Since we moved to that house, because it's vacant, we put a little dirt there and we put these things to support it for 18 years. And so we can plant some few tomatoes in there. But since he moved there, maybe 3-4 years ago, he said he doesn't like it. And now he said he wants us to move it.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Okay, I have other names that I'm going to call, but they may be some of you to speak. So do we have Thomas Herbert?
No, it's
Okay.
It's
So did you need additional time to speak?
No, that's
You're
all.
good? Okay. Arn Kuchlin?
Kirschlin, yeah, that's my
Okay.
father here.
And then you're Stefan?
I'm Stefan, yeah.
Okay, great. So cumulatively, you've said what you wanted to say. Okay,
It's okay.
great. Okay, you're all registered separately, so I just want to make sure you've all had your time if you need it. Okay, great, thank you. Questions of staff?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Slocum, can you tell us what's going on here, please? You're muted. You're muted, Mr. Slocum.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're.
Oh, sorry.
sounding great.
Through you, Madam Chair. Sorry, Councillor. Through you, Madam Chair. As you know, these fence exemptions can be a little bit confusing. The deputy that just spoke is actually the neighboring party, and they were speaking to a separate order to comply that was issued.
Okay, that's what I thought.
To a retaining wall on their property. The matter that's before council this morning is 16 Courton, and it's the height of the fence, not the neighboring party.
Right. Thank you very much for that clarification. That's another matter altogether. All right.
Exactly.
So let's deal with the height of the fence.
Correct.
I looked at attachment 2, and I don't know if you've got attachment 2 there.
I do, yes.
And the fence seems to be not from the ground. Seems to be at least, I guess I'd say just with my naked eye, maybe a half a foot or a foot off the ground.
Correct. You're correct.
Okay, right. So, and there's a gradation difference, it appears, based on the pictures, right?
Correct.
All right. So the difference with respect to what our bylaw requires, our bylaw is it 2 meters?
Are you referring to when there's a difference in grade and how to take the appropriate height? Is that what you're?
Yes, exactly, because there's a
Right.
difference going along.
Right. So, yeah, you are correct. It's you take the measurement 1.2 meters on either side of the property line and take the average grade. My investigating officers, a seasoned staff member, measured the fence correctly and has the fence measured at 2.8 meters in height.
Is it 2.8 or 2.0?
2.08. 2.08.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right.
My apologies.
All right. So then we also have another problem, which is the one which the two speakers spoke of before.
Correct.
Right. Which is the issue around the wall.
Which is a totally separate matter. It deals with a retaining wall on their property, the neighboring property on Pharmacy.
Yeah. So the complainant, though, is the person who's asking for an exemption today?
Well, respectively, I don't know who the complainant is, as you know, municipal.
But that's what was sort of being said by the two former speakers.
I just know that there's an application for the property owner at 16 Courton to keep the existing height of the fence at 2.08 meters.
Right. So would it be safe for me, or maybe you can help me to understand that there's some issues going on here between the neighbors?
Correct.
Right. Would you think perhaps it would be best maybe to defer, not make a decision today, and to deal with the totality of the issues, because there are a number of issues, realizing that the fence issue is what's in front of us, but there seem to be some other elements. This neighbor's new with the fence, and there's some other concerns that he has, and the neighbors who have been there for a long time also are being impacted by some of the concerns. Would that be fair statement?
If you're asking me if it would be a wise decision to defer it, I would suggest to defer it, and I will personally go out and deal with both parties. The deputy that just spoke, to assist in complying with their issues. We've already issued an order to comply to them for the retaining wall.
Yeah.
And if you want to speak to the exemption that's before you at the next community council, that's more than fine.
And I'm prepared to help you as well, Mr. Slocum, to meet with the folks there, because I think there's a need for more conversations to take place as opposed to an approval today, because we're not going to solve the problem that basically has necessitated the fence. That's not a question, but just a thought. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Slocum. Madam Chair, those are all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any additional questions on this item? Okay, speakers on this item.
Madam Chair, and I apologize to the clerk because I had intended to take a specific sort of track, which I've now, I'm going to change my mind because I'm hearing some conflicting concerns here. And I think that it's really important for us to take a little bit more time to have some conversations with all parties, which I have not spoken to either of the parties. I know that there's been calls to my office to support what's in front of us. I naturally would support it, but I think that there's an opportunity for us to have some further discussion. It seems that the two speakers that spoke earlier, there's a need to have their issues considered along with this fence exemption request, and I think that there's a requirement for us to have some further conversation. I'm prepared to have those conversations between following this meeting and prior to our next meeting, so that this matter could be brought back. So I'm requesting that we defer this item onto the next community council, and I apologize to the clerk because I have not written that up yet. If they want to hold us down, I can write that up and email that, or if they can just make that change. Oh, you have already. Thank you. Amazing clerks. They're ahead of us here. So the motion would be that consideration of the item be deferred until June 30th, 2022 meeting of the Scarborough Community Council.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Madam Clerk.
Deputy Mayor Thompson is moving deferral. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. That brings us to 3215, application for a fence exemption. 3215, application for fence exemption, 42 Khartoum Avenue, Ward 25. Deputy Mayor, this one's in your ward too.
Right. Do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers on this item.
All right. So questions of staff, please.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Slocum, Madam Clerk, Chair, through you to Mr. Slocum. Mr. Slocum, our policy requires this to be a mesh or wire fencing coming, I guess it would be from the line from the house to the street. Would that be, or is it simply a midpoint towards the street?
So you are correct. It's this item is in Municipal Code 447 for safety reasons. Anytime there's a fence that's adjacent to a driveway or a walkway, it needs to be open mesh or equivalent from 2.4 meters back from the property line.
Right. So I note that the attachment 2, the west-facing photo of the fence, it is stepped down, which means that they're reducing the height of the fence, and I presume that would be to provide the visibility that that would be required, although it's not a wire fence. But would you agree with me that the issue here is around, I guess, vehicles backing out or driving into the property, and there's a real need to ensure that there's a clear sight line? Is that?
That's 100% correct.
Okay. So the height of a vehicle typically is, do you know? What's the height of a standard vehicle?
No, I don't know the height of the vehicle.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand that because part of it, we're concerned about people walking and the interface between the traffic. I'm just looking at the vehicle in the driveway there, and I'm sort of the opinion and view that a driver who's paying attention would not have an issue with respect to visibility if they're paying attention. And the assumption is that they are, because even with a wire fence, if they're not paying attention, we could still potentially have the same outcome. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Right. So the scaling and the stepping down of the board-on-board fence here, it doesn't seem to me that it really poses a great danger if one is paying attention. And in a similar situation, if it was a wire fence and you weren't paying attention, you could have the same issues with respect to creating a dangerous situation. Would you agree with that?
I would agree for this particular fence because of the stepping.
Yeah.
It may or may not pose a sightline for a particular passenger vehicle.
Right. Okay. So is this common or uncommon? Do we have other situations in my ward, for example, where we have similar situations?
I can speak to that openly. This is a very common practice. What we train our staff to do is when we have a situation where a fence is like this, the bylaw speaks to open, mesh, or equivalent. So what's equivalent? So it's not defined. So we train our staff that an acceptable practice for this would be to remove every other board on the fence. Now, typically, most people will say, you know what, I'll do that just to get, because there's a situation of safety and the city's involved with their property, they typically remove every other board. In this particular case, the individual is seeking the exemption from that section.
Right. And just so that I'm clear again, we have seen situation where the request to move every other board, and that's been done. But we've also seen other situations where the request to move every other board, where we haven't, we've actually granted the exemption. Would I be correct in that assessment?
That's correct.
Okay.
Where there's a situation like this where it's stepped.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Slocum.
Okay. Thank you.
Those are all my questions, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Speakers on this item.
I'll speak, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I'm going to grant the request and the exemption. So I'm moving recommendation number 2. I understand, and again, I want to thank Mr. Slocum because he is very eloquent and he knows his bylaws, and I have such great faith and respect for him and the work that he does. But the motion I'm going to move is to grant the application for an exemption by the owners of 48 Khartoum Avenue, thereby allowing the fence within 2.4 meters of the driveway to not be the open mesh chain link fence or an equivalent open fence construction for at least 2.4 meters from the lot line, direct and require that the installation be maintained in good repair without alteration at such time as replacement of the fence is required, that such installation will comply with municipal code chapter 447 fences or its successor bylaw. Madam Chair, we have seen these types of requests before, and we've granted most, if not all, and we have a variety of different, intentions with respect to the request. I've seen the open, every other board that is open and the other is closed. I'm not sure that looks really that interesting and attractive on the property, but nonetheless, we do make those requests. What I'm really encouraged by here is that the owner of this property has obviously, in consultation with staff, recognized that they needed to step the height of the fencing down. And as you can see in attachment 2, and also in attachment 3, they have scaled it down in a manner that allows them to be able to have a good visual of the sidewalk and the area. And of course, I think it's really important that anyone who is operating a motor vehicle should always be paying attention. And so whether or not you had a mesh fence there or the board on board as we have here, if you're not paying attention, then there could be a problem if there were pedestrians walking. But I think it's up to the drivers as well as pedestrians to be alert as to the occurrences or the movements of vehicles. I don't see this as a huge risk to the community. There is always inherent risk in everything we do, so I'm not suggesting that there's no risk, but I don't see the potential here as a great risk to the safety, overall safeties of members of the community. And I think we should, recognize the fact that the homeowner here has actually gone to great length. And if you look at the detail in attachment 2 here, you see that they have actually recognized the concern around safety, and they have taken great consideration to address that. And so for those reasons, I would want to grant the exemption, and that's why I'm moving recommendation number 2. And I'd ask my colleagues to support the motion and my desire to grant the exemption. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Any additional speakers on this item? Okay, Deputy Mayor is moving option 2. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. That brings us to 3216. Am I correct on that? 3216, application for fence exemption, 36 Windover Drive. We have 4 speakers registered on this. The first is Michaela Eddie Barnett. Do we have Michaela on the line? Oh, in the room. Great, thank you. So when you're set up there, you have 5 minutes.
If you don't mind, I'd like to just ask a question. Good morning, Madam.
So questions, if it's a question procedurally about speaking, you can do that, but you're not allowed to ask questions of staff or councillors the way the rules are set.
Okay. I had submitted a couple of an email with regard to some additional information once we saw the actual documentation on the online for this meeting, and I wasn't sure if that gets passed along or not because it has additional pictures. So that's sort of where my question was, but that's fine.
Okay, the clerk will look into that for you and get back to you, and you can go ahead with your 5 minutes.
Okay, so the issue is a request for the fence exemption because of the height. It's higher than the 2 meters. And essentially, one issue was we noticed in the pictures when we got the original violation, it had to do with the height of the fence. But when I saw the pictures that were submitted by the municipality, by municipal licensing, it also made mention of some material that we had lined this fence with. That material was put there to sort of block some of the view between the slats of the wood, but we did not realize that was even going to be mentioned because in the original violation it wasn't, and we have already removed that black material. So the fence now, all you can see of the fence is actually wood. And the fence itself, with the height, my husband built it. Each of the posts that support the section that is over 2 meters is actually comprised of 2 2x4 posts. They are bolted or screwed together because obviously safety is an issue and could be called into question. So he did that. One of the posts is inserted in the ground using a spike, a 3-foot metal spike. The other is concrete. So anyway, the reason why we built the fence higher than the 2 meters is because we have a problem with our neighbor. Our neighbor has, over the years, become abusive, and he makes racist comments. He's harassing towards, especially my husband. He uses racist comments, calling my husband all kinds of names, which under normal circumstances you would not do. It got to a point where in 2019, he was charged with assault against my husband. That ultimately was dealt with on a legal matter, and apparently the gentleman, our neighbor at 38, Mr. Harinoth was put on a peace bond. But with everything that was going on, we wanted to provide a barrier between our home and their home, because every time he would see my husband in particular, even me, he would start cursing, carrying on, calling my husband names. And even to this day, he throws things at our fence, he hits our fence, and we can't be out in our front yard working on the garden without something being done, or he acting in some way. We do not engage with this man. We do not speak to the man. We try to, if we see him in the front, we go to our backyard. And so the fence being the height it is, as it is, in the section that it is, it sort of provides that barrier so that we from our house or even from the ground will not see their home. And we're trying and keep that view away from him. And so to some degree, maybe it helps, to others no, because he still knows when we're there. We still have to deal with, as I've already said, the banging on the fence, the cursing, the swearing, the carrying on. And so essentially, for safety, and it actually gets scary. From my perspective, it's kind of scary because you never can trust what somebody is going to say or do. And he already committed the assault. Who's to say he's not going to do it again? And so this is why we're at this stage. The fence provides that barrier. We would like to sort of ask for that minor variance in the height, just to help to keep that barrier in place, and also a bit of that sense of security and a bit of that privacy, which is everyone wants to when they're in their own home. And so I guess that's kind of it. The summary of what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the deputant? Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you. Sorry. So Ms. Eddie Barnett, so the black material that's on the fence in the pictures is no longer there?
No, it is not. As I said, we didn't realize it was an issue, and about a month and a half ago, my husband did remove it because it started to tear. We're not sure why it did, but we thought, okay. And again, it was really only to provide a further barrier so that you wouldn't see between the slats. My husband has since decided, he removed that black material entirely. He unscrewed the slats and took it out.
Okay. And then in the I guess the picture of your driveway, so there's a lower fence at the front of the property between the two. Is that on your property line or is that the neighbor's fence?
The whole fence, the lower fence, and then the higher fence behind it as it goes, behind it. It's both fences are about 8 inches into our property line.
Okay. And
the little wall. The little wall before the fence is also in our property line. That's ours.
Okay. And then attachment 3 is a photo. It looks like it's the back of your property looking towards Windover Drive. And there's a piece of the fence that looks like it's along your garage. It's
there.
Lower
it's the neighbor.
than the middle section?
It's the neighbor.
Sorry?
That garage is on the neighbor of 38. Our house is to the left. Our house, the picture shows our house, and then the driveway is the neighbor's house, and the garage is the neighbor's house at 38
I see.
Windover.
Okay.
I didn't bring the pictures with me.
Okay. All right. And how long have you lived at your house, if you don't mind me asking?
Since 1996. So.
And your neighbor?
They moved in approximately 6 months after we did, and for years we were friends, but there were a series of things that happened and the relationship deteriorated. So they probably were there 97 or 98, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. And the fence that your husband has built gives you that added level of comfort. Is that, sorry, it's hard to see. So you've got the garage in your driveway, and then is that fence blocking your neighbor's view into your backyard, or?
Okay, again, the garage is for 38 Windover. We're 36. So that
Oh, okay,
garage
I
is the
see.
neighbor, and if you notice, the shorter fence was built at that height, recognizing that 38 will want to drive in and out of their driveway, and we know that there's a bylaw against blocking their view.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it. I
yeah.
think I need more coffee today. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. The next registered deputant is Enfield Barnett.
Good morning. I'm 71 years old. I came to this country in 1973. Nobody in my life have called me the amount of nigger this gentleman called me. I'm sorry that I had to say that in here this morning. I cannot, this morning at 7 o'clock, the rain is falling. I go outside to pull some weeds, and he's at the door in a red shirt, and he's banging on the mailbox first thing in the morning. Councillors, I don't want to move. My wife don't want to move because her mother lived in this city and her father, they're all old. But this gentleman would not leave me alone. He spat on me. I didn't do him anything. He was having a party, as my wife says. We went out to Home Depot on Canada Day weekend. We picked up some flowers. I had a water well, a spike, and I put the spike in the ground to water the roots. And then I looked, I see this person walk around the car, and I looked back. As I was bending down, he spat on me. I put the fence up, as my wife says, because we don't want to get any confusion with this gentleman. Because this gentleman, if you all don't know, I don't know if I should say this or not. This gentleman is dangerous. His brother used to live with him. He ran him out with a sword. His sister-in-law scratched up his car, and he was going to do something to her. I don't know what, besides spitting on me. Even his wife says, because they come to my house and ask me to cancel the court case. And his wife says that he locked her out of the house. And if he locked his wife out of the house, councillors, what you think he would do to me? With all the murders going on in the world today, what would he do? You know, I don't want to spend 5 minutes laboring that I feel he is dangerous to me and my wife. I can't have company. Friday night, I had a little bit of company. We were playing some dominoes, and he decided at 9 o'clock in the night to start his lawnmower and run it for 20 minutes. Monday, a holiday, we playing dominoes again. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, he decided to bang on the fence. He's breaking my fence down. If you all see him move the fence, my duty is to abide by the law. But I don't want a neighbor that harass me. I don't harass nobody. I don't think it is fair to harass people. But, you know, that's the real life is. People kill people. I'm not about to kill nobody. I'm not about to swear at nobody. All I know is that I'm here to ask you all to allow me to have the exemption so that I can have a little bit of comfort in my life. You know, I'm 71. How much longer do I have to live? How much I can? I'm home. He turns up his music. He do whatever. I got to spend all day at Costco. I go at Home Depot just to get away from this man, especially COVID. I can go nowhere because COVID was saying I had to sit down in my house and endure the noise from him playing what I'm playing. He burns stuff. The fire officers come off. My wife said that when I was in the bathroom. The fire officer come because my wife called 311. And they tell him he's not supposed to burn stuff. And all he do is call me a loser. you lose. You lose again. I don't know what he was talking about. So finally I went last week to the courthouse and they said they put him on a peace bond. They told me that they were going to give him 6 months probation. They put him on a peace bond and he have not till this day, as I said this morning at 7 o'clock, he's still banging, calling me, well, I can't say this morning, but he still calls me a nigger, you monkey, you lose, go find yourself a job. Thank you all for the time.
Thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none, the next deputant is Kushdale Harrynath. Do we have Kushdale on the line? Hello, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, hello. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to get to voice my opinion also. I'm the owner of 38 Windover Drive. I've heard what the two resident and the owner of 36 Windover Drive had to say. I just wanted to give you a little background about myself. I'm a very educated person. I've been working in the computer field for 35, 40 years. And whatever these two property owner of 36 Windover Drive just say about me, they're totally wrong. And again, as Michelle mentioned, we were we were like family friends. My two kids born and grew up here. He used to look after them like they're his child. We respect him. We used to give him food, drinks, whatever he asked for. My wife would daily give it to them. They become very violent to us because he doesn't like kids. The kids that he used to look after for me, he turned against them. He told my two kids, he's going to put them away. He threatened them. He threatened me with a shovel. He would bring his when he's watering his land, he'd water my skin like if I don't shower. Okay? Anyway, this is not concerning, this matter is not for that. The matter is for the fence. I have no problem with the fence. The fence is ugly, unprofessionally built. It's built with scrap material. It deteriorates the neighborhood and the city. All I ask, he could have come to me and said, Harry, I want to build a fence. I would have helped him build and build it neatly so it looked presentable and it built within the code. The city's Mr. Enfield Barnett called the city of Toronto complaining I have a fire in my backyard. The city of Toronto fire truck came and said, Harry, the firemen run to the backyard, there's no fire. They told me, they said, you know what? For what your neighbor done, you complain about that illegally, ugly built fence. I said, you know what? I don't have a problem if he wants to do whatever, it's his property, he could do what he likes. But the city said, the firefighter said, no. If he could do what he done to you, call in and report it. And that's what I did. It looks, I would like the opportunity to share my screen. So I will show you the proof. And I've sent the picture out to Council Ansel as well, Secretary. But I will show you the updated picture. He took that black felt paper off only 2 weeks ago. So Michelle said that he took it off a month and a half ago. No, I have the pictures. She said the fence posts are in concrete. They are not. They're on spikes. The fence is already, he built it a year now. It's already leaning towards my driveway. It's not properly done. And from from my garage, just to correct it, the garage you see it's on my property. The fence going towards the back of the property is built by him. He put cardboards in it. It's unprofessionally done. It deteriorates the neighborhood. It devalues the property. That is what this meeting is all about. This fence, the way you built it. No consent from me. He didn't ask me. He knew I am not a violent person. He lost his job by taking a spade to go hit one of the employees. He threatened me with that shovel once. Okay? I work in a very professional environment. Right now, I'm not on pension. I'm not no government support. I'm losing money right now on this call, which is supposed to be done at 9:45. I have work to be done. I have meetings to be done. I have to push them all back. Who's going to pay me for that? I have to deal with it. There's no need for this to waste the waste taxpayers' money. There's no need for such thing. Neighbors should be able to speak to one another, be professional, and this would never end up to be the way it is. Be like a professional people. Speak properly. Don't threaten my kids and tell my kids they're kids. You're going to put them away? What are you going to do? You're going to shoot, kill them? And these are kids, respect him up to today. They have the highest respect for him. They would never call him by his name. They will always call him Mr. Enfield. They will never call him Enfield Barnett. No such thing. My elder son had to move out of here because of him. My son's the elder one, now he lives in Barrie. He said, Dad, I can't handle Mr. Enfield. Keep telling me he's going to put me away. And the younger one is here now, and and his neighbor next to him, towards the west, is from Barbados as well.
Final thoughts.
She told me, she said, Harry, if he could do what he done to you, do it back.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none, our final deputant is Bridget Harrynoth.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I have a question for the deputant.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Through the chair, you indicated that your neighbor called the fire department. Is that what you stated, sir?
Yes, he did, sir.
Okay, and you then further indicated that the members of the fire service who came to your home informed you that the fence that your neighbor had installed was improperly installed?
Yes, they said it's illegally built.
And they told you to report his illegal fence because they knew it was illegal to the city?
Yes.
So the fire department, the firefighters told you that?
Yes, sir. And I put it in my email that I sent to the city. It's there. The Toronto Fire Department has also verbally commented that this fence is illegally built and the city needs to get this addressed with no exemption.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any additional questions of the deputant? Okay, our final deputant on this item is Bridget Harrynoth. Bridget, are you on the line? You have 5 minutes.
No, Bridget couldn't make it. She's at work.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the deputations on this item. Are there any questions of staff? Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. I guess to James, Mr. Slocum, does the city have any liability in this case if the fence exemption was approved and the fence falls?
The city has no liability if the fence falls simply because it's on private property.
Okay, and so, one neighbor is saying, so the owner that built the fence is saying, the posts are encased in cement, and the other neighbor's like, it's on spikes, so we don't really look at anything of that nature. It's strictly the height.
Well,
and the material, I guess.
Well, that's why this report's there. I actually had the occasion to be at this property. I met both parties, both deputies that spoke this morning. I was there some time ago. The fence in question is built at the very minimum standard for what we would accept for fencing.
Okay.
I can tell you that the fence is built with material you'll see in some of the slides. It's built with, there's felt material not used in normal fencing construction. There's a membrane that you used on waterproofing your basement for privacy reasons. It was affixed to the fence. And in light of the situation, this report went to Community Council.
Okay, and I believe the homeowner said he took the black felt off. Does that improve the fence from your perspective, or it's still?
It would now comply with Municipal Code 447, the section pertaining to material being utilized in the construction of a fence has to be consistent with that of fencing material. So the felt membrane was deteriorating, just like the deputy and the property owner stated, simply because it's not meant for exterior fencing. It's felt material. And it was put up for privacy reasons, but obviously it's not going to stand the elements.
Yeah. Okay. And so that bylaw, or that portion of the bylaw, it governs the workmanship of the fence basically, or it's just the materials?
I can tell you safely that the fence is built and construction, and in light of the situation, it would be accepted at a minimum standard. So the fence
Okay.
is not your typical board-on-board fence material constructed. It was put up by the property owner, not with a contractor, with what appears to be scrap material.
Okay. And what is the difference in height that we're talking about that it's over? Is it half a foot or a foot or 3 feet?
So 2 meters converted is 6.6 feet, and this fence is 2.4 meters. It's 7.9 feet in height.
So what is, sorry, what is
So
that
it's,
over?
it's about 1.5 feet too high.
1.5 feet too high. Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional speakers on this item? Sorry, questions on this of staff. Speakers on this item now. Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Madam Chair. I'm going to move recommendation number 2, that the fence be approved. You know, this is one of these situations where there's 2 parties, neighbors aren't getting along with each other. I don't really know how to deal with that here, and I don't think, you know, from my perspective at this point, I think the most appropriate thing to do is approve the fence exemption. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ainsley is moving option 2. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. The Deputy Mayor has made me aware he has a conflict at 11. I would like to, I think that while he's gone, we will complete the agenda. So if it's the will of the committee, I'd just like to go forward with item SC 32.4 to ensure that this item is covered while we have him present. So this is preliminary report 1296 Kingston Road zoning amendment. There is one speaker, Richard Domes. Richard? Do we have Richard on the line? Go ahead, Richard.
Good morning.
Hi, Richard. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning, Madam Chair and council members. I'll make my submissions brief in respect to the Deputy Mayor's agenda today. We represent the owners of the property at 1296 Kennedy Road. They became owners in 2020 of this site. The application before the committee today is to amend the.
Madam Speaker, it seems that Mr. Slocum's mic is
yes,
not
IT
muted.
IT is muting him. Sorry to the deputy. Please continue.
Not a problem. The application before you is to amend the Dorset Park zoning bylaw to permit a 9-story rental apartment featuring 164 units. The 9-story element is located along Kennedy Road, and our rear wing wall, measuring 5 stories that terraces down to 3 stories, is provided to the west lot line, which is shared with the single detached lots on Gilroy Avenue. A minimum setback to that rear lot line of 10 meters is proposed, which increases up to 34 meters at the 7th to 9th stories. And we look forward to working with city representatives to deliver this rental housing opportunity to the community. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the deputant? Seeing none. Questions of staff? Seeing none. Speakers on this item? Deputy Mayor.
Madam Clerk, I just simply want to expand the notification for this particular item in front of us to 300 meters.
Okay, thank you. The motion has been displayed. All those in favor of the amendment? All opposed? All those in favor as the item is amended? All opposed? That item carries. That brings us.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. That brings us to SC 3217, application for fence exemption, 314 Jaybell Grove, Ward 25. I just have a quick question of staff. Mr. Slocum? Okay, I think the photos show it. I was just asking to confirm that this is stepped, and it does appear to be stepped based on the photos that are shown there. So on that basis, if there's no other questions of staff, I will move option 2 to grant the application for the exemption permit. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. Okay, we are now back to 3218, application to remove a private tree, 32 Carondale Crescent in Ward 22. We have one speaker on this item, Christina Okrasa. Do we have?
Yes.
Hi, Christina, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I don't want to take too much of your time, so I just wanted to say that there are many issues with having a 4-story tall pine tree 2 meters away from a 2-story house. I believe you have received the pictures that I sent in the email, as well as the supporting letters from a number of my neighbors. I'd like to concentrate on the main issue of safety, the safety of our house, the safety of our neighbor's house, as well as the safety of passers-by. We are all aware of the devastation and loss of life due to a very recent derecho. I would like to prevent a costly and potentially deadly situation should the tree become uprooted. I am an avid gardener. My property is surrounded by several mature trees, which are in a safe distance from the house. However, one pine tree is towering over my bedroom, and it presents potential danger on windy days, which, by the way, became more frequent now. The removal of that tree would give my family and neighbors peace of mind. The pine tree would be replaced, of course, with a tree planted in a safe distance from the house. I think that just like a grizzly bear, a beautiful animal belongs in the wilderness, as it would pose a danger in the city, this type of a pine tree belongs in the forest. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions of the deputant? Councillor Mantis, 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, thank you, Ms. Oksarana, for being here this morning. My question is, how long has the tree been on your property?
I'm not sure because we are not the original owners, so it's been there when we moved in. And we kept trimming it because it was brushing against the walls of the house as well as against the roof. And the eaves screws were kept filling up with needles all year long, as well as the pine cones and so on and so forth.
How long have you been at the residence?
For 27 years now.
Okay. Okay. Now, is it very laborsome, the cleaning of the I guess the pine needles, pine cones, and everything that else that has to do with the tree on the premises?
Yes, well, first of all, I am retired and my husband is retired, and it's harder and harder to really clean around the house because every day it's really, I think the pictures illustrate how much we have to clean every day. And I get hit by the pine cones, not to mention that, of course, wild animals such as squirrels get into the gutters and they wake us up in the morning because they munch on the pine cones and they make noise. Because it is just next to our master bedroom. So it also became costly because we cannot go up on the roof ourselves. So each time we need to call somebody to clear the gutters, we have to spend a lot of money, which, you know, when you are on budget of a retiree is, something that we would like to prevent. So of course, removing of the tree would cost us a lot of money, but it would be just a one-time cost, and that would be it.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions of the deputant? Okay, seeing none. Questions of staff?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
To, I guess, to forestry. Now, we all understand that the tree is perfectly healthy, correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay. How many now, the amount of carbon absorption that this pine tree creates, how many trees will we have to plant, new trees on the premises, to be able to compensate for this carbon absorption? Seeing the I guess the age of the tree and the size.
Off the top of my head, I would say probably about 10.
I see. Okay. Because I see here that the one issue that arises is the fact that if someone planted a tree like this on their premises 40 years ago, and it doesn't meet the I guess the criteria today for the person that is the resident now, do you see a type of this kind of a tree being planted in other neighborhoods in today's time?
Yeah, all the time.
So is it a common species to be planted in a neighborhood?
Yeah, pine trees are definitely a common species to be planted in neighborhoods.
Okay. 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 Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mantis. Any additional questions of staff? Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to, I guess, Ms. Allen. So currently, so if I want to cut down a tree on my property without getting city permission, it has to be under 30 centimeters in diameter. That's correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct.
And by my reading of the report, this tree measures 42 centimeters in diameter, so 12 centimeters. So it's a large tree in diameter. It's been there for a while, I would think.
Yeah, our estimate is around 40 years.
Okay. And from your inspections, this tree is completely healthy. It is top heavy, I guess, but you said that's nothing that can't be resolved through pruning.
That's correct.
Okay. And when we also look at trees, I've seen the forestry manual and book entitled Every Tree Counts. So when you look at a tree on the property, it benefits not just the property owners, the immediate property owner, but it also benefits the neighborhood as a whole, as well as climate. And I would assume a tree this large has quite a positive impact on the surrounding community.
That's correct.
Okay. Those are my questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. Any additional questions? Speakers on this item? Okay. On that basis, I'll move staff recommendation. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. Okay, that takes us to SC 3218, application to, sorry, we just did that one, the last one. SC 3219, application to remove a private tree, 83 Treetops Court, Ward 23. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none, speakers on this item?
Sorry, Madam Chair, do we have any speaker on this item?
No, no speakers on this item.
Oh, I thought there was a speaker on the item. I'm sorry, I was waiting for the speaker to speak. I do have questions of staff, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, just by looking at the report, it says that the arborist report says that the tree is in good condition, but in fair structural condition. What do you mean by that?
So when they're looking at the trees, they're looking at both the structural and the botanical condition of the tree. So the botanical condition is good, whereas the structural condition is fair.
So they're the two different things. So basically, so this tree is healthy then, in other words.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. And I do know that we have some problem now. What about crabapple trees? That they do have a special policy for that. Do we have any special policy on any type of pine tree?
Through you, Madam
in our
Chair,
tree bylaw?
no, we do not.
They have a tree.
So this tree is
42 centimeters in diameter, so huge, a pine tree.
So I heard somebody
Woman said
talking
that
here.
One of the problems
Thank you, sorry. We're
is the pine cones from the.
Yeah,
Mute.
I just want to confirm that this tree is 46 centimeter in diameter. So basically, is a pretty big tree as well too.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I think those are my questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lai. Any other questions on this item? Seeing none, speakers on this item?
I'd like to speak, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
As much as I empathize on the owner about all these nuisance that is created by this tree, I think we need to protect our tree canopy, and we have to really actually meet the city's target of 40%. So on that all the reasons that the staff report has indicated, I would move staff recommendation to deny this application.
Okay, Councillor Lai is moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? All those opposed? That item carries. I am just going to confirm with the clerk that we have bylaws to pass. Okay, we will move to those. We have completed the agenda, right? Okay, great. So the first motion that the Scarborough Community Council pass and declares as bylaws bills 485 to 486 prepared for the May 27th, 2022 meetings 32 of Community Council. Would somebody like to move the motion? Councillor Ainsley, all those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. The second, that the Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 32 on May 27th, 2022. Would somebody like to move this motion? Councillor Lai, all those in favor? All those opposed? We have confirmed we have completed the agenda. Happy Friday, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend.
To everyone.